well, that was going to be kind of one of my first like questions. Not that you're anti, but like, I guess
Yeah.
I would be wondering, like, what is your opinion on alcohol?
On alcohol? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's a tough question to start off. Societally, I feel like I grew up in Boulder. It's a
Mm.
college town. It was so common amongst any friend group I was in. I was a cheerleader and cheerleaders drank. I was in
Yeah.
orchestra. I was a violinist in orchestra and people in orchestra drank. I was in AP classes and people I was in study groups with drank. And to me, it was so prevalent. It was everywhere. And my mom would regularly like say, you know, drinking is not good. Like you should watch it. You should find friends that don't drink. That was like always her common thing. And I was like, who doesn't? Like literally show me who. I would seek them out if that
Right.
existed. And I would actively like try to find people, but it was like the study groups. It was like it was things that you wouldn't think would necessarily involve alcohol that always inevitably did. And so I think societally, we have an issue with just the prevalence of alcohol, and that it's just so ingrained.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I stopped drinking when I was 25 or 26. How old were you
Okay.
when
I
you
was
were 20,
27.
27?
Yeah.
So,
Good for you.
so like I was the only person I knew that decided to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Like I think I guess I had known one girl who had decided to stop, but she's kind of distant.
Yeah.
And it was because she had concussions. So like there was kind
Yeah.
of a reason. And then that was pretty much it. But
Yeah.
you're like, there is like no one that doesn't
Yeah.
drink, it seems like let's call it as it is. It feels great when you drink, like it's fun,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But like, why do you think that society is like that?
I mean, I think there's so many different reasons why. I was the same with you. As far as like my immediate circle in Colorado, my partner drank, all of my best friends drank, my family drinks. I'm the only person in my family, including my dad, who's gone through NA. He drinks. So I was literally the only person that didn't. And like why people turn, I mean, I think for me, I can only speak to that. I turned to drinking always socially. So I stopped drinking in April of 2020. I think there's zero coincidence, like at the beginning of April. It was like 3 weeks after the pandemic. And I think there's no coincidence with that. Like for
Mhm.
me, my drinking was so about like wanting to be socially accepted. I had this like image of who I was that was so wrapped up in like being the fun party girl, being the girl that's like encouraging shots and like just
Yeah.
who like my value was so wrapped up in like being fun or liked that drinking really was very intertwined with that image that I had for myself. And I think I would imagine a lot of people relate to that, like whether it be that, you know, you're having a fun like wine night with your girlfriends, or whether you're like a cool girl that drinks like
Yes.
whiskey shots with like the new date, or like you're a Colorado girl that can hang at a brewery and drink IPAs. Like there's so many images that you kind of like associate yourself with alcohol. And that for me was like very much the case. But what I'm grateful for about that is that the second I decided to stop, it was for me. And I never looked back on that question, like that decision. That to me, I've never faltered from that. And I've always been so secure in those like quiet moments when I'm by myself and like reflecting on where I'm at in my life. That is like the best decision I've ever made for myself. And I've never ever questioned it. The only time that I've ever had like bad experiences since I stopped drinking is socially. And so I think it's like a blessing and a curse, because I know a lot of people who have decided to stop drinking, they might have drank by themselves, or they might have like had a different sort of relationship with alcohol, whereas mine was so social. And so, yeah, like when we were forced to not see anyone for 2 years, it made it easy for me to stop drinking.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I was a social drinker too. Like, but it was funny, kind of like to your point, like I had this like period of time, I don't know I started dating this dude
Yeah.
who was really attractive, and he was kind of like not, he was older than me, but like just kind of a catch. But his thing was like whiskey, and
Yes.
like, you know, and like he was really into
Uh,
like that kind of like branding that came with it, you know? It was like,
yes.
it was like, I'm not like a country type. I like country, it's fine, but like he was kind of like more country, like burly man.
Yeah.
And you know, and
I
so
can picture
I
the ad
sort of
now.
started, yeah, I sort of started drinking whiskey
Yeah.
because of that influence, and it was totally like a branding thing of my identity,
Totally.
which is so fascinating. I think like now that I'm so separated from alcohol, and I don't even like to call myself necessarily sober, I'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a minute, but
Yeah.
like separated from alcohol, like I see so clearly like the branding that goes with
Oh my God.
alcohol. You know,
It's wild.
it's like you'll
Yeah.
have girl like when did it somehow turn when we were younger to like teens and then adults? When did it change that you could you hang out with your friends and there must be alcohol?
Yeah.
Like wine night, you must have like whatever it's called,
Completely.
prosecco. Like
Yeah.
you must have like whiskey at the country bars. Like to go like
Completely.
I always talk about like where's your beach? You know, like the
Yeah.
beer. That's what you have at a beach when you're
Yeah.
relaxing. You
For
know,
sure.
and it's like I want to be like, I know you don't judge people that drink. I don't
Yeah.
judge people that drink. It's
Yeah.
not like that. But it's like once you're separated, you kind of see how like for me, I really fell into like that um version of whatever beverage I was drinking, you
Completely.
know?
Yeah, like
And
I'm the
it's
fun girl that drinks tequila or like the
yes.
cool girl that throws back a whiskey. Yeah,
Yes.
completely. You know the thing like with marketing and branding that gets to me, not necessarily like the obvious ones, like a sexy couple drinking a martini and like that ad. It's like, okay, I get it, whatever. The beer ads. What I've been noticing lately is like this health culture or like diet culture infiltrating itself into drinking culture in a
Yes.
way where I'm like, y'all know this is like blatant false advertising, right? And it like I don't know why, because I'm like you, where it's like I don't really like I don't judge. This has been such a personal journey and decision for myself. I don't care at all what other people choose to do. I hope just that everyone is living their happiest, healthiest, best lives. But beyond that, if alcohol is like integrated into that in a way that you feel comfortable with, good, like amazing.
Right.
But like I got an ad, or no, it wasn't an ad. It was like an email from this bar studio in Denver, and it was like Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they were like, "Come talk about breast cancer." Like we're doing like a kind of gala, like fundraiser kind of thing. And then it was like wine night, like we'll have rosé, blah blah blah. And I was like,
Yeah.
literally like one of the leading causes of breast cancer is like alcoholism, and like it just was like so bizarre to me that like we're acknowledging a health crisis or something
Mhm.
that we want to like address in a very loving and very powerful way, and we're serving like wine at it. Like I was
Yeah.
like, really that? And I've noticed that in other ways too, or like the skinny margarita, or
Yeah.
thing where it's like be what you are, but don't try to like be part of this now like health movement, I don't know.
It's like they're infiltrating, well, it's a trending thing. It's like they're infiltrating how people buy things. So what I find fascinating is like you'll have all of these there's all these food trends. Like people are now coming up and understanding how food affects us, I think, a bit
Yeah,
more. I'm one of
definitely.
those people, right? Like I'm learning all the time, and I used to have horrible eating habits, so
Yeah,
bad. And so I'm learning, and I've been learning for a while. And like generally in society, there's like McDonald's now, you have to put like the calories next to the thing, and you
yeah,
have to, the food labels and like what's healthy and all the podcasts about it. Yet they have all of this alcohol that's now being branded in that same direction as like a
yeah,
healthier thing.
yeah.
But like you said, it's like everybody has to find their own like happy, and like
Right.
that the whole point of this is just to give people like options, to understand
Definitely.
there's different ways of lifestyles and stuff.
Yeah,
But what I realized when I decided to stop drinking was how much it affected my mental health
yeah,
in so many ways, and like my relationship to food as well,
yes.
so
Oh my
many
God, yes.
things, and like I think
Totally.
that's something that I think like I think eventually society is going to pick up on this, like with alcohol. But like,
Yeah,
I mean, dude, like people are so anxious and depressed and sad because of
right.
alcohol consumption, even just on a social level. But we don't necessarily correlate that to alcohol because alcohol is
Yeah,
considered so normal.
right.
It's a
Completely.
it's a weird thing.
Completely. It is a weird thing. And like, yeah, about the food experience too. Like I struggled with an eating disorder from high school to college, and my relationship with food has always been, I think, a challenge. But alcohol just absolutely exacerbated that. Like I don't think I had like a Saturday or Sunday from the ages of like 18 to literally when I stopped drinking when I was 27, where I wasn't just like laying in bed watching Netflix, ordering Uber Eats,
Yep.
something like a massive burrito or like some greasy gross thing, and just like, but then feeling absolutely horrible about myself. I mean, like I'm not going to eat for like the rest of the
Yep.
week, and I'm like punishing myself now for that. And so, I mean, not that like I'm breaking barriers from our relationship with food to where now I'm like, I try to be very intentional about what I eat, and including like if I'm feeling like I want something greasy and amazing, I'm going to allow myself that. But knowing that I live an active lifestyle and something where I'm like not going to punish myself for that. But like, yeah, like the relationship between food and alcohol, health and alcohol, it's just like, yeah, everywhere. And when you remove alcohol, it's crazy how interrelated all those things were. Then my relationship with food improved. Then my
Yep.
mental health improved. Then I had all of a sudden 2 extra days in the week that I never had before to do things. And like, yeah, like you were saying, like everything was related to it. And so then everything improved when I stopped, which is cool.
Completely. Like, so, okay, let's talk about that. Cause like for me, it's the same thing. Like, that's why I make this content, is because it was like this crazy turn of events where I really
Yeah.
thought it was going to suck to give up drinking.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to. I spent years trying to like make it work basically,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And there was like there's a lot of stuff going on. Then there's like this straw that broke the camel's back. And I was like, oh, okay. And somehow
Yeah.
something just clicked and
Yeah.
I stopped. And I think it was because I had been exposed to like my mom's alcoholism, and like
Mm-hmm.
that really kind of de-brainwashed me to like the good that alcohol brought, because I was
Yeah.
suddenly seeing like how a woman could like experience, like could be so great but yet deteriorate because of
Yeah.
this. And it was just like, holy crap, like I'm not that much different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she was
Yeah.
26 at some point, you know?
Right.
And so but then when I decided to stop drinking, it was like every month kind of got like more interesting with the things that improved. Like
Yeah.
like you said, like I lost weight, like my
Yeah.
inflammation was like down. I had like way more time,
Right?
you know. I had so much to do, like, but I didn't know what to do with myself either, because
Yeah.
all of the weekends were like historically dedicated to drinking.
Yes.
So like what did that look like for you when you stopped?
Oh my God. Well, okay. So again, it was at the beginning of the pandemic, so there was not a lot going on, which was
uh,
amazing. I feel like I had my training wheels on. So
yeah.
I stopped drinking. My first social event after I stopped was one of my best friend's birthday parties, and thank God it was her, because I lost friends when I drank, like stopped drinking.
Hmm.
I had rocky relationships. I still have rocky relationships with some of my closest people that I thought were like some of my closest people when I stopped drinking. But this girl, this friend in particular, like shout out Taylor, she was one who, she does still drink. She had the most like healthy, perfect relationship with alcohol I could ever imagine. And I honestly would like push on her. I'd always be like, come on, stay out for one more drink, or like take this
Hmm.
shot with me. And so it was her birthday. And so I had that like no fear going into it. I think if it would have been one of my other friends, which is why I said all this to lead up to this story, like if it had been a different friend who I felt like our relationship was so based on drinking and it was
Yeah.
their social event, I think I would have been terrified going into it of like, how am I going to explain? So I didn't really like talk to people about it. I think maybe I shot her like a quick text being like, hey, like I'm actually like not drinking anymore, or whatever. I've been like kind of more private about it, as far as like not blasting it all over social and things like that, which I know you and I have talked about. But because it was her, it was like, I know she won't care. She's going to be happy to see me. Honestly, she's probably going to be relieved that I'm not over here like forcing her to take tequila shots with me for whatever.
Like take
So
it.
yeah, like shout out again, Taylor. And so got there, and it was like, I think I was offered like a couple drinks here and there. I turned it down. No one cared at all. And like you, I had like my like face depuffed. Like, I don't know how, like I felt so hot. Like
Yeah.
I was like, my outfit was on fire. And so it was like really cool, like to be like, I'm flipping the script. This isn't like a sad thing. This is like my coming out party where it's like new and improved. Like I was happy that people were like, damn, like what have you been up to? Like you look great, like all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I like it was such a great way to like set this tone for me because it was such a successful experience of being at like a straight up like rager, like house party classic, like shots being poured, kegs, like that whole environment. But I had my core people and they like were so happy to see where I was at that stage. And it was still so early on, like 1 month in. And so from then on, I feel like social situations to me, I was like, if I can do that, like it was like, I can do this like Red Rock show. And then it
Right.
was like, I did a concert, like I can do a wedding. Like it was just building and building. And now it's like, I've been to Sonoma wine country and like gone on a wine tasting where I didn't drink. I've been to like
Yeah.
many weddings. I've been on like on a Europe vacation where it's like, you would think like you'd have these, and it's like, there's not a single thing I feel like I would face at this point in my life that would like tempt me to drink, you know?
Totally. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing because I think
Yeah,
before I decided to stop drinking, I was worried that like life was going to be super boring,
totally.
or like that I was going to feel like I was lacking something. And I think what I like to talk about is that that's actually just completely not what happened whatsoever. Like
Yeah.
I have more stamina now than I ever did.
Completely.
Like I can
Yes.
actually party more now than I could
Yes.
before. And I like remember it all. And like I didn't say stupid things. Like I didn't
Yes.
end up somewhere that I didn't want to be. Like,
Totally.
you
Your
know,
outfit looks just as good at the end of the night as it did when you
yes,
started. Like,
like it's all
yes.
good. There is this weirdness in society about talking about not drinking. Like I've even hesitated to tell some of my friends about just this channel in general because I do talk
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
because 99.9% of the people in my life still drink.
Yeah.
And I love them. Like they are great people. Their relationships with alcohol are their own healthy,
Mm-hmm.
happy people. That's great. Like more power to them. And none of my friends have ever given me a hard time whatsoever. So like shout
Good.
out to my friends because like
Yeah.
none of that has ever happened. But I think it's my own fear of like this stigma that comes with talking about life without drinking because I think sometimes again, not necessarily my friends, but general people in society, like there's this, people tend to attach like what we're talking about living life without drinking as like we're therefore now like judging.
Yes.
And,
Completely. Oh,
and
totally.
it's not like, it's weird because you should be able to just talk about this openly and like be able to explore your relationship with alcohol and like be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, why do you binge drink? Why is it that you can't stop? Why is it that
Yeah.
you're whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like, be able to explore that without this added element of pressure,
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if
why
you
that is.
experience this, but like, I feel like there's a tendency in myself to downplay things that are really, really good, especially if I fear that other people will feel like I'm like looking down upon them or judging them
Yeah.
in any way. But like,
Right.
if your reality is that like you're loving life or you're loving your partner or you're loving this like new existence of not drinking, you should be able to like shout that off the rooftops kind of thing, you know? But I'm
Yeah.
so with you. I'm so like that where it's like the last thing I want to do is be alienating or make anyone feel like I judge them for their decision because it couldn't be further from the truth. Like
Right.
it is again so personally a decision for myself, and I'm with you too. Like I would say majority of the people in my life still drink. But like my core people don't, and I think that there's like also no coincidence around that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a couple things. Like, how did you find those people?
Yeah.
Because like, I'm like,
Right.
I have found people, but like
Yeah.
not, and I think it's in part because of this stigma about talking about it, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that, and then also I wanted to know, like, how has your relationship changed from when you would drink together
Yeah.
to then not? Because,
Yes.
that's like a big
Yeah.
thing.
So I feel like part one, they found me. Like I've been
Mm.
so blessed. So the one of my best friends in Seattle that I mentioned earlier, she stopped drinking before I did, and she planted that seed in my mind of like, okay, like there can still be cool girls that don't drink. There are still hot girls because she's like stunning and cool and goes to all the shows and like to me, like going back to what you shared about your mom, I think in my head I had a very like specific image, and I feel like it's so stigmatized in society about what alcoholism looks like, or what like
Yeah.
an unhealthy relationship with alcohol looks like.
Yeah.
Um, and also what recovery or what not drinking looks like.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like hot, cool girls. And
Yeah.
it was like, so her not drinking, to me, that was a person. And I was very heavily influenced by her. And then as far as other people that are in my core group, my partner decided to stop drinking about 6 months after I did.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and that was something that was actually really hard. That's like been one of the hardest things, I would say, for me, because I have this like kind of consistent guilt that I'm luckily starting to like break away from, but like that he never had the issue. Like it wasn't his problem. And it's like so much a solidarity move that I worry, like, are you alienating yourself from friend groups? Are you like
Hmm.
now like not getting the invite to like football night with the boys or whatever because of me? And like, so at the beginning, when he stopped drinking, or I think at the beginning when I stopped drinking, he still was. I was like pushing him to drink, and I would be like, "No, seriously, like take a shot." I was like overcorrecting,
I
and so
did the
then when he,
same thing.
yes, it's so weird,
I
right?
did this. I was
Like,
like, take the shots, like, take the
yeah,
shots. This guy I was seeing, I was like pushing it. And he was like, you know, he actually, not to interrupt, just
no, no,
on that,
please,
he had to, he at one point, like, cause we, like, I never drank with him, but I knew he drank. So I was like, have the drinks. And then he was like, pulled me aside and he's like, you know, I would appreciate if you didn't do that because I actually also kind of struggle with this drinking and I just
oh,
never talk about it.
a
But like, you
vulnerable
know,
king. Thank you.
yeah. So
Oh,
I was like, and it really took me by surprise because I was like, oh my God, like that makes so much sense. Like, yeah, like more
yeah.
people struggle with this than we think, you know, like, duh.
Totally. I told you this, but for the viewers, I'll say the worst day still to this day of not drinking was I had just stopped. It was July. It was right before one of my closest friends who it has been a struggle with her. Our relationship has like been kind of rocky since I stopped drinking. She came over. It was the first time she was meeting my partner. And we were all three of us were gonna have like a Boulder day. We were like, okay, we'll like meet up at our house in Denver and then we'll drive to Boulder together. We'll like tube down the creek. We'll get like lunch on Pearl Street. It'll be a great day. And I was in this phase. I was like 2.5 months in or so to not drinking, and my partner still was drinking, where I was like pushing drinks on people because I so wanted to still be that girl, that fun girl, and I
So
associated
cool.
myself with that. Yeah, that cool girl. So I
Yeah.
literally, my friend gets here at like 11 a.m. and I pour them both like tequila shots, and I'm like, let's have a fun Boulder day, blah blah. And then I'm like, we're packing up like a cooler full of like White Claws. We get to Boulder. I drive us. We get to Boulder. They're like drinking on the way, which I like asked for. Like I pushed
Yeah.
that. We get there and we're tubing down the creek. And for me, like I grew up in Boulder. Like tubing down the creek has always been kind of more of like the sport of it in a way. It's like not like a lazy river tubing experience.
No,
Like you
it's
wear,
not.
yeah, if you yeah, you've done it. So it's
It's
like you
not.
wear water shoes, like you're going down some like kind of treacherous moments. So I'm like, okay, like this is fun. This is an activity. This is like kind of athletic, whatever. And so I'm like going first. I'm like going down these rapids, having a blast. I look behind me and they're kind of like pulled off to the side and they're like drinking White Claws. And I immediately feel like I'm the odd man out,
Mm.
alienated, I'm isolated, and I'm with like my best friend and my boyfriend. And those are like the two people of all people in my life I should not feel alienated by. And I did it to myself, which is like the weird thing, which I know it's like from your stories, like you can relate to. It's like I pushed that, and then we ended the tubing thing and I was already feeling kind of like salty, and we get to this restaurant. I like when like a man kind of takes control in this way, so he would like always order for me like our drinks, and I just felt like it was cool because I'm like, again, so indecisive. And so before he would always just be like, and they were like good drinks too. I would never like buy myself or assume that I'd be getting like a top shelf drink. And he'd always just be like, you know, this is what we're having. And I just thought it was really cool. So we get to this restaurant after I'm already feeling kind of like isolated and alienated. And he goes like 2 like coin margaritas. And he's like meaning for him and my friend. And then the waitress like turns to me and I'm like immediately like my heart kind of sank because I'm like, that used to be my thing. Like he would do that for
Oh,
us.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, like push past it. I'm already like feeling this kind of like pit in my stomach. And then she turns to me and I'm like, okay, this can still be salvaged. So I noticed they didn't have like an NA menu, but I was like, do you have any, like, do you think the bartender could like make up any fun mocktails? And she was like the worst waitress to encounter. Like, I'm sure you've dealt with them. She just like looked at me and she was just like, no, I can bring you a water. And I was like, okay.
Well,
And I was just like sitting there like, this sucks. Like, I hate this so much. And they proceeded to like drink for the rest of the day together. And it was just like the worst day. And luckily I have a relationship with my partner where I could be very like open and honest with him. So I think I didn't immediately address it because I couldn't even like name it at first. So there's so much there with me encouraging and me pushing, and but then me not really advocating for what I truly wanted. So there was a lot that I think I had to like navigate. But once I was finally able to like talk to him about how much it hurt me, he stopped and he never drank again. And that was like over 2 years ago for him too.
wow.
And for him too, he's always like described like he was not like I would consider a drinker. Like at the parties, again, when we first started dating, it was like me pushing him to take a shot, and he'd be like, I really don't want
Sure.
to, and he'd be like annoyed with it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say it was like, I can't speak for him or his journey and say that it was easy, but I definitely don't think it was like his thing. And so I think
Yeah.
that conversation of me coming to him being like, I'm trying to do this thing for myself, and that was like the worst day ever, it really made him be like, okay, like easy. Like I'm like, I don't need that. Like that's not my
Right.
thing. Like you pushed me to. So yeah.
You know, it's fascinating you say that because I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of girls like our age.
Yeah.
There's a couple that come to mind in specific, but they're like from the channel, and they're like they have partners who don't or who do drink. And
Yeah.
then I've talked to a couple guys who their wives or other partners or whatever, they do drink too, and it causes a little bit of a rift.
Yeah.
Um, and I've actually never, I guess I kind of was in that scenario. I don't know. I guess I've never really dated somebody who did drink while I wasn't,
Yeah.
but I, I could see that that might cause, I don't know if it's essential to date somebody who doesn't drink if you don't, but I could
No.
see how it could, like it could cause issues, but I don't know that it's essential.
No. I don't
Yeah.
think it's essential. And at my like when I was celebrating 1 year of not drinking, he's from California. He had just come back from a trip with his brothers, and they are like very big into wine. They love their drinks. And I think they had been kind of pushing him like, dude, what are you doing? Like, will you, like, you're seriously not going to like never drink again, right? Like their
Yeah.
dad, like, and mom have like a little mini vineyard on their like they're like
Oh,
very big into wine and stuff. So I think they were like kind of questioning like, this isn't a forever thing, right? And so he came back, and it was literally my 1 year celebration, and I think I was still feeling very fragile. I wanted to say like, damn, it's been a year, like hell yeah. But now looking back, I think I was still very like kind of fragile in my experience. And he was like telling me how he doesn't know if it's like a forever thing for him. And I was just like, I started to panic like in that moment, because I went back to that day in Boulder. I went back to like those first few months, and like there were kind of multiple realities. Like, yes, I felt like hot and confident and proud and like secure, but I also felt like a little alone still, because like as much as I wanted to be like, yeah, this is my thing and it's cool and I love it, it was like, okay, I'm by myself. And so when he stopped drinking, it was like, no matter what situation I'm in, I have one person who's going through the same thing. I have one person always by my side who's also not drinking. And so it just kind of like started rushing to me of like, I'm going to go back to being alone all the time still. Cause at that point, after 1 year, I still was the only person in like my Colorado friend group that didn't drink. And so it was like, yeah, I'm going to be by myself. And I was very scared about that. But now it's crazy what like a year has done, a year and a half almost has done to my security, because now it's like, I kind of like that it's my thing. Like, and now I've had so many conversations with people, like people know where I'm at. And I like meeting people that don't. And I'm like, I meet them and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just not a drinker. Like, I just feel like fully own like who I am now. That,
right.
yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's essential at all to be with someone. I think I could be with someone that drinks
Yeah.
now, but I don't know if I would have been so successful, because
In the
again, it was
beginning.
always so social for me. So it was like I was
Yeah.
so influenced. It was never a me thing. Like I was never drinking by myself or like feeling tempted to drink. It was always like other people around me are drinking, so like me too. So yeah, maybe it was essential for me.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know.
I think that it's I know that for a little while there was like a phase for a while. There was definitely a phase of loneliness, like
Yeah.
for sure. Like I don't think that I remember I was frustrated because I would wake up on a Saturday and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm up at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
because I am feeling good and like there's no one to do anything. I can't do shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I would just
I
like,
was down for a trail run. Yeah.
yeah. So actually, it's funny because that's where I actually discovered that I love trail running because I didn't know what else to do with
Yeah.
myself. So I was like, I guess I'll go running in the mountains and like
Yeah.
went and did that. So that's kind of cool how that turned out. But like, how long, like for me, I think it's taken probably, I think it took me maybe meeting another person who didn't drink, who could like truly relate to me in my new existence
Yeah.
to feel like a connection like that. I don't know,
Definitely.
like it like felt secure. And I couldn't find anybody. That's partly why I make this content too, because like there are people like us out there. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I think people have this view of alcoholism or stopping drinking. There's like this view of it that's like very not realistic, I think.
Yeah.
Like people think, and I used to think, I don't want to put, I'll just speak by myself. I used to think that, the people who decided to stop drinking, kind of like what you said, were usually people that had like really hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd gone to rehab 10 billion times. The kind of the stories of our parents that you hear, like they're, miserable people and like they always drink all the time and like that's what they need. But
Mm-hmm.
I've come to see that like alcoholism is first and foremost, it's like an addiction, right? So
Yeah.
like it's, I mean, you can get addicted to cigarettes, right? You can get
Yeah.
addicted to food. You can get addicted to sex. It's
Yeah.
just the same. But for some reason, when you decide to stop drinking, you're still considered an alcoholic. But
Yeah.
when you decide to stop smoking, you're not a nicotineaholic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's
So
this weird,
true.
so it's like there are so many people out there in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s, their 50s, their teens. I mean, every age who are considering like they're very insecure about their relationship to alcohol and but it's not so bad yet
Yeah.
that they're wanting to actually like stop. But
Completely.
like for me, it's like I saw a window into how horrible it could be if I didn't get my stuff together. And I'd
Yeah.
learned enough years and enough times like that I literally just can't trust myself to control it because I'll
Yeah.
just overdrink or I'll binge or I'll want to drink or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, I was a social drinker, but it was still like, like why can't I just keep it together? I learned enough
Right.
times that I couldn't. So I finally cut it. And then that was when like the real good life kind of came in. So,
Yeah.
it was
You
like,
know
holy
what?
crap.
I have a theory on this, and I feel like you fully like fit this vibe and theory that those of us, because I was like that as well. It was like I didn't drink all the time, but when I drank,
Yeah,
and I was always like so envious of the friends. Like again, shout out Taylor, like who could just stop after a few drinks. And
same.
I was like, how the hell? I was always like shots until it's like sunrise or I hated the feeling of the end of a party. So my
Yeah.
theory is I feel like those of us who overconsume have this like love of life, because even like who you are, who I know you to be now, of like waking up and going on your trail runs or like meeting new friends with this like open heart that just like demands like matched energy of just like love and vulnerability and openness. You have this like love of life and love of like just doing things to the fullest, because so many
Yeah.
people that I know are like in this like are in that category, who no longer drink, but who when they did, they drank too much. And it is like, it is weird. It is like I don't want to live in shame or in a reminder that I have a problem for forever when I don't feel like I do,
Right.
where I feel like I'm actually just, I love life and I love doing things like to the max. And like, so for me, yeah, it's like, I've never really ascribed to like AA. My mom was very big into Al-Anon because of her dad. And then my dad went through NA. We literally had like an embroidered serenity prayer on our wall in my home, like growing up. So it's like, I was very like indoctrinated into that world. But for me, it was like never it, because I don't want to like wake up every single day and say that I am a thing that I'm not. Like,
I know.
I'm not an alcoholic, and it's like,
I
I
know.
turn down a line at a party and people don't think like, oh, she's got a cocaine problem. They think
Right.
like, okay, cool, she's not gonna like do this line, like good for her, whatever they think. I don't know what they think, whatever. They're probably just like yay more for me. I don't know. But like
They're
they
like,
never
great,
think.
I can have
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. More Coke. Like I like but I turned down a drink at a party and they're like, why? And it's
Yeah.
like, it's just so weird.
It's so
It's
weird.
so weird.
It's exactly that. Like, and for anybody that's like considering options, like there's people that are like literally struggling with not drinking, or there's people that just questioning. It's all different spectrums,
Yeah,
right? But like,
totally.
if AA is something that like works for you, which I've gone to AA
Yeah,
countless times, it doesn't necessarily do anything for me. It's more of kind of like the energy and the vibe. Like,
yeah,
I enjoy listening to the stories and stuff.
yeah.
But like you, I never really, I went enough times and I liked it and I will go again. And
Mhm.
but it wasn't for me something that really clicked, because I didn't feel, first of all, I think that the value that sometimes is put into alcohol in those meetings is like way too high.
Yeah,
Like we don't get to have this thing that the rest of society does
yeah,
get to have. And it's like, dude, it's literal, like it's used as like this is like fuel we're
yeah.
talking about. Like,
Right.
and not only that, like it makes you feel like you're missing out sometimes.
Yes.
And then beyond that, it's like this concept of like, hi, my name's Lauren and I'm an alcoholic. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't, I think that maybe that could be used for a time frame, right? Like in the period where you are drinking like an alcoholic,
yeah,
sure, right? But once you get to a point of like, which I got to, of like, I don't even want it anymore. Like,
yeah.
I don't actually care. Like, why would I need to
Yes.
identify myself as that?
A
I
million
don't,
percent. A
I don't
million
get that,
percent. I
because
feel
then
like I'm so many adjectives that we are so, and that's what I loved about you immediately too, is like I feel like you and I relate. A lot of people that I've encountered, like not drinking is kind of everything to them, or they're like very open about it at least, and like it's all over their like social media. And
right.
I have mad respect for that for sure, but that's just never been me. And I think I'm a little bit more of actually like kind of a closed off person, or like just a little bit more private. Um, but also I'm so many things. I'm so many things, and not drinking is kind of like far down the list of what I am. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's who I am, and so yeah, I'm with you. It's like, yeah, talk to me about like hiking or paddleboarding or like literally
Yeah.
anything else. Not this thing that I've chosen not to do. Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, it's almost like keeping that energy alive.
yeah,
It's almost like,
totally.
keeping this like concept. It's like giving alcohol too much credit. Like,
Yeah,
as a person, you're the problem because you got addicted.
yes,
When in reality, it's like, no, the substance itself is just addicting as hell.
yeah,
Like, and
right. I think of
and it's,
Annie. Oh shoot, what the author who wrote This Naked Mind, Annie Grace, I think.
yeah.
Um, I read it. Actually, there's been some quit lit that I've read throughout stopping drinking that I'm so glad I did. It was like by chance, like accident. I didn't intend it for it to be this way. And I'm so glad now looking back on my journey that I kind of like built this foundation of truth and resources underneath me, because I listened on audiobook actually to This Naked Mind by Annie Grace within the first like few weeks of when I stopped drinking. And
That's
I
cool.
think she was the one that was like, AA is odd because it puts emphasis on the person. Like you're an alcoholic. Like there is something that is wrong with you that isn't with some people, but you can't handle this thing. When in reality, it's the thing that's the problem. Like it's the drink. And so in that case, I guess going back to your first question, like I don't judge people that drink in the slightest. However, I don't think that anyone can really have like a healthy relationship with a very unhealthy thing. I think is kind
Totally.
of my hot take of the
Yeah.
hour.
And right. And like, even saying something like that is like, whoa, like,
Yeah,
am I
like
going to be,
yeah,
but it's not, but it's, I agree with you. Like, it's in anything, right? I don't smoke cigarettes, but when I never let myself buy a Juul,
good for
because I
you.
never wanted to. Yeah. And I never
Yeah,
let myself buy a pack, but when I would get fucked up, like, I was bumming a cigarette off people,
yeah,
and like, cause it would make you feel that high.
yeah,
But I noticed when my boyfriend had the Juul in the beginning, I would rip it. I was like, this is disgusting. Like,
yeah,
what is, like, and I didn't like it. And then I would like feel kind of anxious or something. And then it was just sitting there, and I'd be like, just casually, I was like, ew, this is gross.
yeah,
Give it a few weeks. then it kind of doesn't feel gross anymore.
Yeah,
You know? And then
totally.
give it a couple months, and then you keep thinking about it.
Yeah,
And then, and it's just, that's what I think it is. It's like, it's not that I'm just susceptible to being addicted to things. I might be, based off of like my
right.
environment, and like where I feel I have a void or whatever. But it's
Yeah,
not that me as a human, I'm just like so prone to being addicted to alcohol or cigarettes. It's because the things are inherently addicting
yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
And that's, I think, where the conversation lacks, is like, we all just pretend
yeah,
like it's
yeah,
just alcoholics versus normal drinkers. And it's like, no, dude, there's a reason why like 1 out of 10 people are like reported alcoholics, which means it's
yeah.
probably like 1 out of 4 or 5,
Totally.
you
Oh,
know?
1,000,000%. Yeah. And
Like,
like alcohol is gross. I love that you say like let's like we're all just pretending that some people are, some people aren't. Alcohol is nasty. Like wine is
yeah.
not good. I like and people are like that would be the hardest thing is just like giving up my wine. It's not good. I'm sorry. I freaking love my juice or like
Yeah.
my whatever sparkling water. I go through LaCroix like they're going out of business.
Okay.
Like it's
Everybody
so
who
bad.
decides to stop drinking, mark my words, I'm going to make a
So bad.
soda water brand. We are obsessed with soda water.
You must.
Obsessed.
I buy like two 12 packs. I feel like literally every time I go to the store, like every few days, and like I run out. Like I drink like probably 5 a day, but like it's gross. And like, when did we like force ourselves or pretend that it was anything but like absolutely gross?
I think you just get desensitized to it.
Yeah,
Like, it's just like anything. I mean, like the cigarettes, right? Like, I'm
yeah,
just
like the jewel.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm like, sure.
like this is gross.
Um,
Yeah.
last question I wanted to ask you was, like, why did you decide to stop drinking? Let me go first,
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
just to preface.
Yeah.
I I decided to stop drinking for, a lot of people that are watching this probably know, I've said it a bajillion times, but I um, was in my 20s, and I experienced my mom and her drinking problem get really, really bad.
Mm,
And it escalated to a point to where there was a lawsuit going on, and like things with businesses were really difficult. And I ended up having to like kind of pick up a lot of the pieces. But meanwhile, I was experiencing my mom drinking through it. And
mm,
so I was just like, mom, like we get in fights, and like everything is stemming from this problem of drinking. If you just cut it out,
yeah.
everything goes back to normal and you're fine. And then I would leave, I'd go to my boyfriend's, and then I'd talk to him about it over drinks,
Yeah.
and like, I like go to the bars, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I was just a big party girl. That's what we did. And like, whatever. But,
Yeah.
I would black out. And then over the weeks, over the days, like I would low key be scared, like, why am I blacking out? Like, why can't I just hold my shit together?
Yeah.
Like, why, like, oh my God, I feel horrible today. Wow, I ate like a giant pizza at 3 in the morning last night. I
Yeah.
hate myself. All these little things. And then when my boyfriend and I broke up, um, it was a huge hit because my mom, like we had a mutual breakup, but like my mom ended up, her stuff was really bad. So I kind of lost her. I thought she was dying like every single day because I didn't
Ugh.
know where she was and all this. And then my boyfriend fell from my life, and it was like these two really important pillars
Yeah.
just were gone. And I dealt with it by literally binge drinking for 3 days straight. I didn't eat. I
Mm.
didn't hardly sleep. I just was in so much pain
Yeah.
that I just like did that. And that was what I knew to do. And people were around me, like, that were consoling me. They didn't know what else to do. Of course, it wasn't, no one, they were being good people to
Yeah.
me, but they were drinking with me.
Right.
And so that was what I was doing. And anyways, I woke up from that, and I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do if I'm, like my mom's age, and I lose my business?
Right.
Like, what the hell? I'm no different. So that's when I was like, oh, the visual, the parallels of lives, like I can see what my future might be actually because of this.
Absolutely.
So that really slapped me in the face and woke me up. And that came after years of me
Yeah.
being dumb in college, and, waking up hungover and blacking out, and
Right.
just all of that. So it took a lot. But
Yeah.
anyways, why did you decide, if you're okay with sharing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There you go. Being vulnerable and open and just like the most beautiful soul as always. This is
You're
like,
sweet.
I'm glad you actually went first because again, I feel like my natural tendency is to kind of close up. And so I have a variety of answers, which I feel like a lot of people that maybe have stopped drinking or are considering stopping drinking will relate to, which is like, what do I tell people like when they ask why? And so my answer differs for depending on the situation and depending on how deep I want to get. And so I'm glad that you just went so deep, because I'll give you my like truest and realest answer, which
Yeah.
is that I was going to lose every single thing that mattered to me if I didn't stop. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it really culminated because, again, like you, it was like years of bad things, years of like, I got like arrested in college. I had multiple like MIPs, like minors in possessions of alcohol. In like I got my first one when I was like 16 in high school. Like it
Yeah.
was years and years of like really, really bad and sad and traumatic things that happened to me that always involved alcohol. I just couldn't see that alcohol was like the problem. I kind of was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was drinking, but like my boyfriend broke up with me, or like, yeah, I was drinking, but like that doesn't matter. I'd be like retelling the story to like my mom or something, and it'd be like, she'd always ask like, was alcohol involved? And I'd be like, yeah, but
Yeah.
like no, like the point is that like my two friends like ganged up on me and we had a whole huge fight, whatever. And I couldn't see that it was like, no, that actually like at a certain point, if there's enough things that happen that are really bad, and there's always one common thing, which is that you're drinking and you're drinking a lot, like maybe it's time to like look at that and not do that anymore. And so ultimately, though, it was, I think, again, like 3 weeks into the pandemic, and I wasn't like around people anymore. So it was in like social situations where I was drinking, but it was like, oh, let's do like a FaceTime call and like, let's drink. Or like me and my partner,
Yeah.
like I'd come over to his place and then we'd drink a lot and we get in these horrible, horrible fights. And we got in like 2 back to back where like I left his apartment and went back to mine and like thought we were done for sure forever. And like, the second one, I would say like I was like nearly like suicidal for that one. And it
Mm.
was like really fucking scary. And I like was so, I was like embarrassing to myself. Like I like posted this like depressing, like horrible, probably like cry for help on social media. And then I had like people that I liked and respected, like reaching out to like my partner being like, is she okay? Like what's happening? And I was just like, I woke up the next morning with so much shame and so much like, I think I was just kind of fed up, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Like I'm so done with this. And like I think we had conversations. It was never totally like a, if you don't stop drinking, we're done. But it was like, we need to stop fighting. Like this is so bad. Like, and I think finally for the first time in my life put the pieces together for myself and recognized
Clicked.
like it's the drinking. Like I need to stop drinking.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and it was like not everything was like overnight fixed. Like I still had like
Mm-hmm.
anxious moments and depressed moments, and me and my partner still fight, and it's like, you know, I'm still living a real life with real problems, but like everything got better, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't know.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. That is, in wrapping, that is literally the perfect like into this, because that's completely why I make this content.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think that I know I didn't realize while I was drinking what it like even though I was a social drinker and I really only usually drink on the weekends, but I
Yeah.
would drink a lot.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but like even just doing that, like I didn't really realize how much it dictated my thoughts, my self-worth,
Yeah.
my habits, my eating habits, it perpetuated former eating disorders.
Yeah.
The guys that I dated, the friends that I had, the
Right.
hobbies that I had or didn't have, my memory, my just overall outlook on life.
Yeah.
And it's just like such a profound difference from that experience to how I live now, that I feel really compelled to share that with people, because I don't know that like people that are our parents' age, like they didn't have resources like this
Right.
to really handle
Totally.
this. Like
Completely.
they didn't have, can you imagine being like living during World War II and like it's just like a shit show and everybody's drinking, and then like you're like, okay, I guess that's like you start drinking too, and then that's because becomes how you live.
Yeah.
And you don't have any other perspective, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, we could actually just be way happier and healthier and get around a whole lot of medical bills too
Oh my God.
if we identify like what the actual problem is, and that's going to be unique for everybody. But if that is potentially alcohol, you know we're here talking about how like life is great
Yeah.
without it. contrary to popular belief, right? You might think otherwise,
Yeah.
but yeah, everything got better for me, and it was just so much more peace and fulfillment in my life
Yeah.
since I stopped. So
I told you I kind of like got connected to like sober Instagram, and that was like
yeah,
those were legitimately like my online friends were like, as sad as that kind of sounds, but not really. It's not sad. It's kind of cool actually where we're
yeah,
at in society. Like
mhm,
those were the only people I knew at that time in my life when I gave up drinking that didn't drink as well. And
right,
like one thing I will say though is like a lot of it is geared towards I feel like
women.
women, yeah. And it's odd. Like there was like the retired party girl and no booze babes and like
Hmm.
sober girl society, and these are like the pages that I saw and immediately started following. But yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the dude's perspective is just as interesting, and it's kind of like a cool thing. So yeah,
I think there's a lot of macho-ness around drinking for
yeah,
men. So,
very
you
much
know,
so. It's a
it's
whole
different.
different ball game.
With women, it's like sophistication, sexy. With men, it's like macho,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah. So, Kaylee, I literally love you
I
so
love
much.
you too.
Thank
Oh my gosh,
you
I'm
so much.
honored that we had this. Thank you.
Yeah.
This
This
is
is
so cool.
literally, this is the best. I'm just like so grateful that I met you
Me too.
and like that we have this friendship. And I really just, I think that you're just a very special person. And like to be able to come to where you landed at 26 to make this decision for yourself and then like perpetuating that for other people through this is just like, it really means a lot. And I think a lot of people will take a lot from
Literally
this.
same to you, but like way
Yeah.
more so because you're actually like
No.
out here and doing this. Like you're inspiring me to want to be more like open about this
Yeah.
because it's actually really cool to witness people that are like thriving in their lives. And like I feel
Mhm.
like if more people were open about that, more people would thrive.
More people
So
thrive.
I
Let's do
love
it.
you. Let's do
Love you
something
too, girl.
soon.
Yeah. All right.
Great.
Well, I will let you know when this is coming out, but
Oh
I
my
will
gosh,
talk to you
yes.
soon.
I'm so excited.
All right, girl. Well, thank
Okay.
you again.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you
All
soon.
right.
Bye.
All right. See ya. Bye.